If it's the case that the right course of action is that which benefits the most people, then any action or set of actions might be justified as long as the actions yield good outcomes for everyone concerned. For utilitarianism, the end can justify the means. Said's torture of Henry Gale, Ben, could be justified on this analysis if such actions resulted in a way off the island, or some large-scale benefit for Oceanic 815 survivors. As long as the actions themselves led to the best outcome, theft, murder, and even torture can be justified. Michael clearly fails here, since his actions, leading all the way back to the deliberate murder of Ana Lucia and the accidental killing of Libby, have brought about bad consequences for the group, culminating in the effective loss of Jack, Kate, and Sawyer to the others. It would appear, then, that the outcomes-focused analysis of utilitarianism only leads us to blame Michael for what seems to be an intuitive duty of a parent, saving Walt. Ross's intuitionism and prima facie duties. The utilitarian system relies on one principle, to do all the moral work, but the survivors, like all of us, face a messy situation that demands more complicated analysis than one principle can provide. So let's consider W.D. Ross's 1877 to 1971 theory of prima facie duties, which is agent-specific. Broadly speaking, the theory employs several principles, rather than just one, that are flexible, not in their nature, but in their relative applicability to a situation. Ross proposes that an adequate moral framework must fit the facts of our experience. In the same vein, he rejects frameworks that seek to maximize good outcomes, since all acts that are identified as good or right under utilitarian analysis ignore whatever reasons may accompany or precede the action itself. Ross proposes a system that accommodates a variety of moral principles available to us on reflection. The flashbacks on Lost give unique access to each character's moral memory, pieces of information that are relevant, if not absolutely necessary, for understanding an action. Ultimately, these flashbacks have the substance of reasons. In telling us what they do about each character, the flashbacks are an important resource for understanding morally significant choices. We know how Michael will act when it comes to Walt, because we have access to moral reflection and relevant moral experience recorded in the flashbacks. By acknowledging a variety of relevant moral principles, Ross thinks his theory fits the facts better than utilitarianism does. Ross recognizes 6 prima facie duties, which are really dispositions or attitudes towards certain kinds of acts. 1. Our recognition that both keeping promises and telling the truth are good yields the prima facie duty of fidelity. 2. Related to the idea that keeping promises should be valued is the idea that previous wrongful acts should be put right. This view about previous wrongs introduces the prima facie duty of reparation. 3. A recognition that goods of various sorts ought to be properly distributed forms the basis for a prima facie duty of justice. 4. That there are certain actions we can undertake to improve the situation of others in pleasure, intelligence, or virtue is the foundation for a prima facie duty of beneficence. 5. That there are certain actions we can undertake to improve our own situation introduces a prima facie duty of self-improvement. 6. A recognition that one ought not to bring harm to others leads to the prima facie duty of non-injury, non-malfeasance, which is stricter in scope than that of beneficence. The reasons for upholding these prima facie duties emerge from our moral experience, since we only come to know these principles in particular situations.